Hello, Lana. I'm happy to see you. Now, welcome to MwalimuPLUS live classes. This is where we give you the key to unlocking your potential. My name is Peter Moguche. Welcome to grade 4 mathematics. Now, I just want to let you know that today we are going to learn a very interesting lesson on area. You were just introduced a few years back on area, but I'm very sure you've not understood it very well. So today I'll take you slowly by slowly so that you can understand. Now, in area, we are going to look at area of squares and rectangles using unit squares. All these you are going to learn right now. Now, I just want to take you back a little bit to what you already understand. When I was young, like you, I used to play so many games. And one of the games that I remember very well is that where we drew, some squares on a dusty ground. And these were about 8 squares where we used to jump using one leg. I'm very sure you play such games. So this had some squares that you jumped on one leg, and if you stepped outside that square, then there are some unique codes that we used to say, you've banned. I don't even today know what it means, but that was the rule of the game. So somebody had to start again. When you banned in that game, then because the rule was very clear, you are not supposed to continue, but to let somebody else play the game as you watched. Now, observation is very powerful in mathematics. You need to observe, and if possible, you need to get involved in the act so that you understand better. Now, I want to take you to a farm, right? I want to take you to a farm where you will be in a farm that has young plants growing. Say, for example, coffee or tea. Now, you'll come to realize that the coffee or the tea plants are put in straight lines. Those straight lines repeat themselves all around the farm. And therefore, because they are put at specific points, if one is put here, another one is put here, another one the same length somewhere there, then another one the same place, and then you continue all the way until the very end. And if these lines are repeated in the whole farm, then, and somebody shows you how they look like, and then you join from one plant to another, and from another one to another one, you'll realize that you are making squares. That is a farm. Something else that I want you to understand, if you've ever watched a wall from one side, just a wall from just one side, you'll realize that the bricks or the blocks that are used to make or to build the wall are put in such a way that they make either rectangular shapes or square shapes. So looking at that again, it will give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about. Now, in our lesson, there are some important words or simply terms that we need to understand as we carry along. And they include 1, area. Very important. Then something else that you need to note is unit squares. I'm going to show you that in a short while from now. Then another word that you need to carry with you as you learn is actually rows and columns. Now, very important words that we need to carry with ourselves as we progress in the lesson. Now, at the end of this lesson, I want you to be able to count the number of unit squares in either a square or a rectangle. Unit squares. I'm going to let you know what a unit square looks like as we progress. Now, let me begin there. A unit square that we are going to put inside a rectangle or a square. Now, these are the shapes: a rectangle and a square. Now, put these shapes somewhere and then observe how we are going to put unit squares inside them. Now, what's a unit square? A unit square is actually a square. It's actually a two-dimensional shape that has got four sides. The bottom side, if you are drawing it on a plain paper, then the top side, this side and this side, and all those sides are equal, and each of them should be a centimeter long. That is a unit square. This is exactly what we are going to put in those rectangles and squares that I've talked about. Now, to do that, I want we arrange these unit squares in a square first. What we need to have is actually a larger square. Say, for example, in your exercise book, something that can take about 4 centimeters. So if you took a ruler, then you check 4 centimeters, then you draw that length, then you draw another one 4 centimeters, another one 4 centimeters, another one 4 centimeters. Once you've done that, you have a larger square. Now what you do, you bring in the unit square and then you start putting one after the other. The best way to do this is actually to have a cutout of that unit square. Then cut as many as you can. Then you color them maybe with different colors, and then you paste them on that unit square. Then you count, you paste them on that larger square. Then you count how many that are being formed on one side, then how many are making the other side, and then you fill in the rest. Once you do that, then you'll now count how many in total that you formed. Now, in the illustration, you are going to see that one unit square drops to one side of the length, then another one, then another one, then another one. We first form one complete length. Then we continue dropping more and more until the whole surface of the larger square is filled up with the unit squares. Now, if you want to count how many you formed, because we need 4 on one side, 4 on the other side, then simple mathematics, 4 times 4 will give you 16. You can prove that by counting each individual unit square on that larger square, and you'll see that there are 16. Now, moving on, we can also have a rectangle. This one here now is not a square. Now, the rectangle has a larger length but a shorter width. Now, once you have that, you still repeat the same activity by having as many unit squares as possible. Then you paste them. But for my demonstration, you are going to see that if I drop unit squares along the length, then I'll have 7 of them settling along the length. Then, along the width, I'll have 5 of them settling there. So, once they are that way, then I continue now filling in all along until the whole rectangle is completely filled up. Now, the next thing that I need to know is how many unit squares have I used. Then I can take 2 ways. One, I can take the unit squares on the length, which are 7, then along the what? The width, which are 5. Then I do simple multiplication of 7 by 5 to get 35. Number 2, you can simply count all of them individually, and you'll still find the same number has been used. Now, therefore, once I've taken you through those activities, then we ask ourselves, what is area? What is area of a square or area of a rectangle? The activities that we've carried out will actually let us now know what area is. At our level, we are going to realize that to find the area of a space like that is enclosed by a rectangle or a square, then we take the number of unit squares on one side, that is the length, or where we can form the columns. Then we take the number of unit squares forming along the width, which actually serves as the rows. Then we simply multiply. This time round, we are not going to count individually. We have now known that to get that area, then we need to multiply these sides. This reminds me of so much. Think of your room. A room, maybe one room in your house. Then along the length, if you took a meter ruler and then you measured, then you realize that there 4 of them will go there. Then the other side you measure, then you find 3, and you want now to know the area of that floor. Then you only need to multiply the number of meters you found along the length and the number of meters you found along the width. And that will give you the area. For instance, in your room that has 4 by 3, what is the area of that room? Very quickly, you only need to say 3 times 4 or 4 times 3 to give you the area of that room. Otherwise, using the unit squares is only enabling us to know the surface. How many of those will go there will be equal to the area. In other words, the number of unit squares that are covering that surface are equivalent to the area of that surface. So now, my learner, I cannot bring this lesson to an end that easily other than giving you at least an activity that you'll carry out, and this is going to help you understand that idea of area. And I have about 2 activities, actually 3 activities that I want you to carry out. 1, walk into a farm with either young tea plants growing or simply young pineapple plants growing. Look at them. Look at the way they are planted in those rows. Count the number of rows. Count the number of columns that are there. Once you've counted the spaces created by one plant here, another one here, another one here, another one here, will enable you to know that surface. That's a small area. Now, how many of such surfaces do you have? That will help you to estimate area. Another activity that I want you to carry out include count the number of plants on columns and also rows. Once you've counted them, then they will give you an approximate area. Now, if it is not a very large farm, say for example a small garden of pineapples, then it will actually be simple for you to take a very short time to find the area of that. And by finding the area, you find the space that is occupying, you know, that surface of where 4 plants are put. One here, one here, one here, one here. That space. So the number of spaces inside that will give you the area. Now, for you to get the idea of area and the area of squares and rectangles, then I'll encourage you to find it in subconcept ID in MwalimuPLUS, subconcept ID 3303. If you get that, you'll find a lot that you're going to learn about area and area of squares and rectangles using unit squares. And with those very many remarks, I beg to stop there and wish to see you in the next lesson. As for now, it is